work at our future. Throw our hearts into it. Some of you are looking a little bit sleepy. Throw your hearts into life. Whatever you do, you have to throw your... most of us only have one heart. Unless we are Doctor Who, then we have two. I don't think there's very many Time Lords here. But I was thinking earlier, did you know there are animals with more than one heart? I'm not going to suggest that you emulate the worm. The worm has... Is anybody doing biology? Does anybody know how many hearts the worm has? Anybody want to guess? It's one of these wonderful bits of useless information that you will carry around for the rest of your life. 5 hearts! Oh, did you know this? There you are. Can you tell me about a cockroach? No! No! Keep going! No! No! 8? Go on, more! 1 more! 13! Unfortunately, I compared my university in Russia in a speech to a cockroach, and there were some groans. 13 hearts, I think, is very good. That's probably why the cockroach is so successful. You need to be as cunning and as resilient and as determined as a cockroach. Now, exams are one way that we can test the value of what we've learned. But we can also test our ideas every day simply by discussing them with our friends. Believe me, I would rather hear a friend tell me I just had a really loopy idea before I act on it. And that is real kindness, when they take you to one side and say, don't do it! And frankly, it was fairly kind back in the day for Father Baxter to tell me to stop screaming at the cricket pavilion. The cricket pavilion was not going to pay any attention. Now let's go back to Rosmini for a moment, because even at the end of his life, Rosmini is talking about action. Rejoice is something that we have to do fairly actively. Think about it. It's not a passive thing. Rejoice! We could bring Rosmini's words into everyday usage. Stop! Be kind. Be creative. Indeed, think of it. Providence without kindness is simply fatalism. Kindness is something I remember about Ratcliffe. It's something I treasure about what I had as a boy here. And I know that Mr. Lloyd sees kindness as a great feature of this school and a great tool for communication. Be still, adore, and rejoice. It's active. Be still. Now, be still is very important. I worked for a director for an animated film who thought that we should all work in silence. He went around the studio unplugging people's radios. I thought he was wrong then. I think he is right now. Stillness is something that can be encouraged in school, but the place where it is needed is back at home. You cannot listen unless you are silent. And I've been setting up an education faculty in Moscow in this university, and I do occasional lectures in English. My Russian is execrable. So they started to provide me with a translator, and then they gave up. They thought I was going too fast. These days I just vigorously wave my arms around. But I noticed that when students of any age put up their hands, this is advice for teachers, but also for you, when students put up their hands, they stop listening. They're completely cut off. They're only thinking of what they plan to say. The same, incidentally, is true of politics. I was at a referendum debate a few weeks ago, and there were 3 fairly robust, that's a kind description, fairly robust councillors in a row, and they all happened to ask exactly the same question. They also happened to be from 3 different parties. Nice to know they were thinking the same thing, but interesting that they were not listening to one another. We need to change that. We need to listen to one another far more Now let's move on to another point of Rosmini's. Rejoicing or happiness. It's again difficult, particularly in times of crisis, and we need to practice it a lot for it to become natural. This is about positive thinking and creativity, but it's also about discipline and about confidence. We need to keep alive the spirit of optimism and hope in small things and in big. I had optimism at the beginning of this afternoon that the rain was not going to be so severe that the tent was going to be blown away. I was right, I hope. We still have a few minutes left. We do not need to rejoice just about the past. We should enter the future in that self-same spirit of optimism. That is your duty for the leaving form as you go off to university next year. The role of parents, I'm coming to you, the role of parents at home is vital to the well-being of a school like Ratcliffe. We expect there to be inspiration and discipline at school, but we also need it at home. There may even be a place for distraction. But in my experience, children are perfectly good at doing that themselves, beginning with Minecraft, then Warcraft, then Call of Duty. We need to be ever encouraging. This is your job as parents, ever encouraging, always rejoicing in what children are learning. The more they learn, quite frankly, the more we learn too. And that is no bad thing. Now, for the past few years, I have been an academic guardian, looking after children, often from other countries, while they plough ahead with their education in the UK. Sometimes they make mistakes, and I think it is my job to keep them focused on their goal, despite these mistakes. Frankly, if English is not your native language, it is very easy to get confused. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to call him George, who is doing an exam this evening. So even as I'm speaking, I'm slightly on tenterhooks for him. He wanted badly to study astronomy for GCSE. The school, it was not Ratcliffe, said it was impossible, and his timetable would not work, that the subject was only available to a very small, select number. George really wanted to do it, his parents said, and so I spoke to the housemaster and the director of studies on his behalf. After negotiations which might well put Mr. Juncker to shame, these comments keep coming up, sorry, George got his way. However, it soon became clear that there had been a misunderstanding. Fueled by Harry Potter, you know where this is going, don't you? George's interest, it turned out, was rather more in astrology than astronomy. And quite frankly, he would have been better off with a subscription to the Daily Mail. Still, to his credit, and with a lot of encouragement, he has persevered. That means we have spent a lot of time discussing the universe. And this morning, just after we got out of church, I had a telephone call, and he rang me for a last-minute revision test. So, as I speak to you, I am also still thinking of the dwarf planets of Pluto and Eris's moon, Dysnomia. This was never a subject I expected to enjoy, but you remember the line from The King and I, when you become a teacher, by your pupils you'll be taught. And more bluntly, if we are teaching children the skills of analysis and evaluation, then maybe we should not forget that all forms of entertainment, all forms, should be open to examination. And who knows, it may only be a matter of time before we see, oh God forbid, Assassin's Creed on an A-level syllabus. But I hope that will not be at the expense of Shakespeare, Milton and Chaucer. As parents, teachers, and children, we need to practice celebrating the unexpected. And we should perhaps reflect that an idea not worth examining is not really worth having. I want to finish, it's already started, you see, I want to finish with a few words of praise in the same spirit. The last 6 years at Ratcliffe have seen great change and stupendous leadership. I have got to know Ratcliffe again under the robust headship of Mr. Lloyd, and we can all be very proud, it's developing, you see, we can all be very proud in what Mr. Lloyd has achieved. I have mentioned the kindness which I knew in my day, and I know that same kindness is treasured today. I've also mentioned providence and the idea of rejoicing both in what is past and rejoicing in what is to come. So this year, Gareth, as you enter your final year at Ratcliffe, you can be assured that you will go forward in the sure knowledge that the ideals of the school are secure, that your future is sound, and you will look back, I can assure you, with great pride on your days as a Ratcliffian.